He does. Certainly an old school player there. Has to know one of those original 40 champions quite nicely. Now Dignitas have 30 seconds to make their own choices, and pretty much everything is on the table here for them.
And this would be the time for maybe a Renekton, but if they go for Zed, that's really smart because that's the Scar thing that hadn't been banned out and then wasn't picked away by TSM. Plus, Zed can beat on Twisted Fate up until the point where Twisted Fate gets his on his Hourglass. So Scar will have a window here to try to abuse Reginald.
That will be a fun matchup, and they've got 8 seconds left to make their other choice here, and it is going to be Draven for Cutie Pie.
It's those contested picks coming through. They're not letting Wild Turtle get that Draven. Also, the support of Sona is somewhat squishy for Draven to charge at. If Wild Turtle picks Misfortune into this, it will be a very aggressive lane. They sync ranges against each other. They're both 550, and they both hit very hard in lane.
This is going to be an interesting brawl right here, and that's going to be the Renekton is locked in there, and they've also grabbed Misfortune, so you're right on that call. It's going to be a bit of a brawl lane. Dignitas looking for their last 2 champions, top and support, I think.
And the one game this year that Wild Turtles played Misfortune, even though it was a really common pick for TSM in general when they had Chaos, I think he went 9-0-7. So he had a very solid game on Misfortune, and it's just another one of those contested picks when you look at the Renekton pick, and it avoids the super AoE damage team fight that you get when you combo the dog with the Crocodile.
All right, so I'm a Cutie Pie just kind of lurking back and forth across Trundle and Tryndamere. Don't think it's really either, but he's smiling. He's certainly happy about what he's picking. Patoy, on the other hand, looks much more serious.
Patoy's Alistar pick was actually pretty good in the last game, and he might do something similar in this one since Sona isn't available. His Zyra has been incredible as well. He's one of those somewhat unconventional support players, and with Sona gone, he would have the opportunity to get kind of aggressive.
Ooh, they're looking for Katarina right now. We have seen KiwiKid play it before, looked at it before, and it is going to be Katarina plus Alistar locked in for Dignitas.
Well, this is getting really interesting because Scar is the Katarina player, and Zed can work in the top lane. KiwiKid has only ran Katarina, I think, once, and it was one of the few times he brought Teleport into a game as well. So maybe they could do Teleport Katarina top lane and try to counter what Reginald is doing on Twisted Fate, or it could just be Scar on that, and they're going to just let things go crazy. But I really don't know exactly what they're going to do, and I don't think TSM would know that either.
Now they are looking at Maokai right now. They're looking for a team comp that will work for them. They do need a jungler still, and let's see what it ends up being. Of course, they have great gank pressure with Twisted Fate. They've got 20 seconds to make up their minds. What's it going to be?
Well, since TSM already has a lot of damage coming out from Renekton, Misfortune, and Twisted Fate, they could go with a more support-style jungler. The Odd One has played... Wow! Is that going to be a Cho'Gath from the Odd One? He hasn't played that in a really long time, but it would be a more support-style jungle. I would have expected something like Maokai, but that could work as well.
Okay, so we can see them swapping their champions back around. Jat, walk me through these team compositions. You've got a lot of damage on both sides, I think.
So for Dignitas, if they go with this Katarina in the mid lane, Scar is going to try to tool around Reginald a bit in the lane and then do his Katarina thing. This will be a KiwiKid straight up against Dyrus in either a 1v2 or a 2v2 lane in the top lane. Dignitas is about the lanes in the bottom lane, but Scar is actually going to have to survive and then try to roam around. For TSM, it's also the side lane is really strong. The bottom lane is really strong in dueling, but again, Reginald will have to kind of wait for that to happen. So the junglers will really be the only difference in this game, but they are both similar tanky support style junglers as well. So this is actually very similar playstyle team comps coming in from the side. The only big difference is Dignitas is more assassin heavy, and TSM is more AoE damage heavy.
All right, so I'm waiting for the last couple of seconds of the champions select to see if KiwiKid and Skara do in fact swap, and they are not. So KiwiKid will in fact be on Zed. Skara will be on that hero Katarina right here. It's up to them to shut down TSM and keep them from taking out first.
And there are multiple Photoshop pictures of Scar's face on a Katarina on the internet, so he had to play it. He owed it to his fans. He got 56% of the All-Star vote. How could he not?
Yeah, his basically most known champion is here for him. We're loading up into the game. Dignitas going to be on blue. It's going to be TSM on red. And I mean, this is a battle of two phenomenally strong teams here. It's going to be a fun one.
TSM fighting for the first place seed in the North American LCS. They were seemingly struggling as far as TSM goes near the start of the season, and they seem red hot on the red side of this team. And Dignitas has been cooling off near the end of the year. That's why they're on the blue side.
Nice one, Jat. Very good. And we are into the game, of course. Let's get it happening on the blue. It is Dignitas, the cold streak. Let's see if they can heat up. I don't know why I'm still going for this one. Dignitas making their way out of the base. TSM doing the same. Actually, TSM are grouping up, so they look a little bit more aggressive early on.
And only the one red elixir for TSM, so Dyrus starts with that on Renekton. That is the item for Renekton. the item differential in the bottom lane is going to be, if they go up against each other, the I'm a Cutie Pie Red Elixir versus the Wild Turtle Thorns Blade. So we'll have to keep track of that. And there is a lot more level 1 catch potential from TSM, considering they have gold cards and Rupture. TSM could definitely try to make some big moves here early.
They are starting to run in through the jungle. Let's see where they can go with this one. All forward towards the blue. They put one down right there on that little brush, and now they invade towards Golem, and they're like, all right, great, we got a ward down. And they're staying around a little bit, actually.
I feel like Dignitas is scared enough of TSM that TSM can do whatever they want in these situations and take whatever buff they want. Dignitas is going to do everything they can to avoid conflict with TSM in the early game. Luckily, that ward is spotting out the entire TSM team, so it's allowing Dignitas to make informed choices.
Wow, they just pinged out both ward positions. Like Dignitas, they counted the number of wards that Xpecial and everyone else had and pinged both spots that TSM warded right there. So Dignitas, by the way, freaking good at this game, and they're going to start out in their own jungles here.
A lot of that could have to do with the level 1 research. They know that when TSM invades blue buff, they try to ward both of those corridors because that essentially picks off a mid lane gank from Nasus if they want it to run that way, and it also lets them know what buff they start at.
Okay, so Xpecial and Wild Turtle will be going down to the bottom lane here. Looks like a heads-up 2v2 on both sides. Scar running towards mid, puts a ward down. Reginald actually looking to challenge a little bit up against the opposition, but he doesn't know he's been warded out. This could be risky for him.
And Reggie really wants to try a sneaky steal here. He doesn't think that Crumbs is going to smite this, but Dignitas knows exactly where Reggie is.
A little bit of damage coming in there from Scar. The Q did put out a bit of poke. The stun didn't hurt Crumbs too much, but it did actually force his team away from him. Crumbs might have to smite this one down.
And he ended up taking a whole bunch of damage. Didn't even smite super cleanly, but it does give him the level 2. It doesn't really mean Odd One will be able to do the same thing, because Odd One had to use a smite on his jungle camp as well. And I feel like it's just equally sped junglers at this point.
Okay, so Odd One goes in on towards that blue buff. Oracle spikes there, doing a whole bunch of damage. Cutie Pie jumps in, though. A lot of pain coming off onto Xpecial, but there comes the pulverize from Alistair. Wild Turtle getting dropped very, very low. Cutie Pie looking pretty good still. Everyone on TSM low at health in this bottom lane.
So the flash burn by Xpecial, there's still Barrier on Wild Turtle, and Exhaust plus Cleanse on I'm a Cutie Pie. I'm a Cutie Pie popped his red elixir during that engagement, so there is now that 3-minute window where Wild Turtle's got to be a little bit careful, plus he has no health potions to try to make it up. That's why Xpecial is spamming heals as much as he can so they get out of kill range.
And TSM are looking for a counter gank right here. They've got Shogath off in the wings, right behind that Tri-Brush, seeing if Dignitas forces the issue. Cutie Pie right now not subscribing.
There's always the threat of a flash pulverize from Patoy here, even a flash headbutt pulverize, because despite the barrier from Wild Turtle, if they get stunned, he will probably die in the combo. So this is a very dangerous situation for TSM, and I think that's why Odd One is still lingering around the area.
He is still looking around. The Wolves went down one more time by him, but he comes right back over, still trying to help out the team. But the entire time, though, Crumbs is just farming out his own jungle, and he's going to start scaling ahead of this Cho'Gath.
And that's what Nasus does a lot of times in the jungle. He tries to hit level 6, and then he tries to go solo dragon. So the start by Dignitas' bottom lane actually gives Crumbs a lot of freedom on Nasus. Okay,
so we'll see if the dog can be set free and just roam around happily. Reginald keeping the last hits going. Dyrus 1v1 against Kiwi Kid, 12-21. Dyrus in the lead right here, bullying this matchup.
And that's just what Renekton does in a lot of situations. I think a lot of it just has to do with Dyrus being in the lane before. When Reginald went to harass down at the blue buff, it sucked Kiwi Kid down a bit, and it did give Dyrus slight access to the creeps before Kiwi Kid got there. And I'm pretty sure he's just used that level advantage to keep an edge on Kiwi Kid and keep him at his turret.
Okay, so that ends up being a nice thing here for TSM as Dyrus shoves on through, and in the rest of the lanes we can see the 2v2 still there. In the bottom lane, Xpecial managed to sustain up his AD carry Wild Turtle, and it's only 26-19, so they've hung on here, TSM.
And Xpecial still has a little bit of mana. He had to burn most of it during that exchange, but your support's mana for all of the health potions and the red elixir start for I'm a Cutie Pie will be worth it if they get out of this one alive.
Well, Crumbs is looking for this one right now, though. He's going to spend his time camping out one of these side lanes, and they're going to be in a pretty happy place. So, we could moving on up, not looking for it just yet. Will Dyrus move on forward? He's got the Fury this time around. Will he commit? Crumbs looking for it, twirling his staff around. Will they go? Dyrus presses Q. Crumbs, you're breaking my heart. I'm excited here, and you're not going for anything.
They're waiting for Dyrus to use his slice or his dice so that Crumbs' Wither actually has staying power, and Dyrus is just too patient. Eventually, Crumbs gets fed up and goes.
They go on, and there's a slice. The dice is going to come off as well. Still being withered. Flashes away. Kiwi Kid goes for the flash. WE. Can he get enough damage? Putting him down with the red buff. Dyrus stuck now under the turret. The Q comes across, and Q-Wicked finds the kill. Crumbs with no health either, but they get it. Nice first blood.
Even though Dyrus didn't slice or dice into the creeps before that gank, he did commit himself very deep, and that brief, almost couple of inches of engagement by Dyrus is what allowed Dignitas to chase for the kill.
Oh, beautiful pickup right there, but here comes the teleport in the bottom lane. Patoy taking a bunch of poke, looks for Reginald right there. Stand United does not actually hit onto Reggie, and Patoy's going to be safe with the stun now landing on Cutie-Pie. Cutie-Pie cleanses it off, still chasing down onto Reginald, has to flash away. Wild Turtle is there. They're putting out so much damage into Cutie, but the Ignite time's out, and they're not going to get a kill there.
And I think the odd one flash ruptured or flash silenced to stop Scar's teleport from coming into that one. Very clutch play by the odd one there because that fight was close in a 2v3. If Scar was there, Dignitas would have picked up more kills.
Oh, beautiful play right there then by the TSM lineup there. And really on all sides, I gotta say, Dignitas, of course, have still got that first blood advantage. 1-0 and 400 gold. As TSM continues to try to farm up themselves. And Scar's now making a move towards the bottom lane.
We've talked about the momentum here. Dignitas has a bit of an edge. There's the flash pulverize.
And as Patoy taking a whole bunch of pain, Exhaust is there on a Wild Turtle, pops his barrier as well, but it's Crumbs just looking for pain. Look at his special, taking so much damage. And now here comes Scar. Will they find anything? Xpecial now kind of stuck on the wrong side of the map. This is going to go to someone. Looks like that someone is going to be Scar with the ultimate.
And they really got to pick who they wanted to get that kill at the end. That was a good move by Xpecial to move down while Wild Turtle moved up to make sure that they didn't get double killed. But it was still an unfortunate situation. Very good flash pulverized by Patoy and delayed gank by Crumbs to get them into that situation.
The roam there, absolutely beautiful. Now Wild Turtle forced a last hit under turret, but he's alone. That poor cowgirl stands just by herself. We look back at the top lane, and they're just kind of trading blows. Dyrus, despite the death, still winning in minions.
And TSM likes to take control early, and they have been doing that in most of their victories, and it's reflected in their items. They have Double Thorn's Blade on Dyrus, Double Thorn's Ring on Reginald. A lot of Twisted Fates will go for something like a Seeker's Arm Guard, but because he's laning against Skara, he really doesn't have that magic resist option that he wants to go for. He couldn't go armor because Skara would just kill him anyways, and you see that TSM is building the Doran's items because they're behind a little bit now. They're trying to get that jump in power and get back in control.
We'll see if they can get in control of this game. Crumbs right now pops his ult and solos out the blue buff. So, of course, the non-mana double laner says, great, I get these myself. And Crumbs has got to be happy. He finally gets a blue for himself.
105 seconds left on that Nasus ultimate. A lot of times, especially when a team has control, Reggie actually ulting in.
And they're going to go on the left-hand side, but he locked a red card here. Will it be enough to drop down on the Kiwi Kid? The stun is there from Dyrus, though, but here comes Crumbs. He puts down the Wither. Can Dyrus get away? Of course, he does have the ult. He pops it there. They put some damage now onto Crumbs with the stun, and of course, Crumbs' ult is down, but here comes Scar. Will he find the damage onto Dyrus? Crumbs actually getting hit quite low, and here comes the odd one. The silence comes across. Will they get anything to clean this one up? He goes back in with the shadow. Scar losing so much health. Dyrus comes across the wall. Can odd one find anything? He's level 6, but the ult is on cooldown, and Ever just gets away from the fight.
A whole bunch of commotion for no deaths, and Dyrus at a sliver of health looks to try to keep that lane pressured, but the minions aren't necessarily there either, so a lot of action, no big result.
On the bottom lane, though, the ult comes across, and whoa, a big result there for Xpecial. Gets the kill, but Toy still has the ult on. He'll survive the encounter, but TSM find their first kill of the match, and that is Xpecial securing it against I'm a Cutie Pie.
Wild Turtle hit 6 before I'm a Cutie Pie did, so I'm a Cutie Pie had no ult to counter that bullet time, and he got wrecked. That was a great time for TSM to go aggressive in that lane. He was also a BS sword up on I'm a Cutie Pie's Vamp Scepter, so he knew he would be able to win a trade.
That is a beautiful situation right there for them. Odd one lurking around with TSM Dyrus, but no one's really looking to gank that top lane. TSM, however, at the bottom lane, thanks to the result of that kill, they've now taken control of the bottom turret, and that's 1-0 for them and a 1,000 gold lead.
And there's a chance that all the commotion top lane actually allowed TSM to catch Dignitas a little bit by surprise. You don't see it as much in competitive games, but I know personally in some solo queue games that there's a whole bunch of action in top. I kind of like just go watch it, and then I come back to my lane and it's like, oh crap, I'm getting killed in this situation. And you know, maybe something like that happened for Dignitas. I'm a Cutie Pie and Patoy have had a very up and down week. There was the game against Curse where I'm a Cutie Pie played absolutely out of his mind and doubled Cop CS, but there was also the game against
Complexity?
CLG, where I'm a Cutie Pie just lost his mind and went and stole that double goal at level 1 and fed the rest of the game.
And I remember the Complexity game with MIA with the double kill thresh hooks,
Yeah.
like just dominating every single person. And actually, convenient enough, speaking of Cutie Pie, they've got to restart his computer real quick, so we'll be back in the action very, very soon. No love lost, really, game is paused, so no big deal. So we go into this game, and we look at this, and TSM, despite losing early advantages, have now pulled themselves a 1,000 gold lead and it's that same like TSM control where they find some kind of edge.
Well, you can see a lot of it in their items because they went for the Doran's Blade. Wild Turtle rushed that BF sword. They were really just going for the early power in a lot of these situations, whereas Dignitas was building Vamp Scepters and Sorcerer's Shoes. They were going for the kills and the sustain and like the late game items. But TSM's not really the late game team that they're looking to fight against, especially when you pick stuff like Draven for Dignitas. So TSM actually looks to be in a pretty good position here, despite a bit of a shaky start.
Well, looks like it's going pretty well for them so far. And so what do you do now if you're Dignitas? You realize you've suddenly lost a quick early advantage. You're against an aggressive team. How do you change gears mid-flight?
You definitely just have to regroup and realize what's at stake. I know Crumbs will have his Nasus ultimate to potentially get some Dragon control. You want to be able to force the fights in places when TSM's ultimates are down, right? There was just a whole bunch of action that happened on the map.
Yeah.
Wild Turtle used his bullet time. I'm a Cutie Pie wasn't level 6 yet. So when I'm a Cutie Pie hit 6, he's going to have that Draven ultimate, and Wild Turtle will not have his Misfortune ultimate. Reginald's already used Destiny, right? The odd one, Cho'Gath's Feast, I don't remember if it was down or not, but it's just a lot of ultimates down on TSM, and Dignitas would have potential to try to make something aggressive happen.
All right, we'll see if we can do that. We're about 1 minute away from Cutie Pie back into this game, so stick around. We're going to be here for just a little bit longer as the game goes back in. You look at TSM, now you look at Dignitas on your screen right there, and they look pretty relaxed, right? They're still, they're kind of at their jobs. They're doing what they can. They know it's kind of, I guess not do or die, but do and do much better if you can.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of focused.
Dignitas is a surprisingly laid-back team considering how successful they have been. You look at them, and a lot of times, even when they're losing, Kiwi Kid and I'm a Cutie Pie all have smiles on their faces. So they do take everything in stride for the most part. Even if they fall in this game, they're the 3rd seed. They're the 3rd seed even if they win.
Yeah.
They're going to have to take it in stride regardless. So they do have the right mindset in a lot of those situations. They're just laid back, smile, happy guys. They go play some League of Legends.
Meanwhile, you look at TSM, and they are very much all business. You heard Reginald talk about it earlier. He said they've very much redoubled their efforts, kind of had that wake-up call. He started actually himself putting in a lot more effort in these matches and making sure they're making the right calls, they're doing the right things. Just about ready to get unpaused here. He's moving his chat box around, fixing that, and then we'll be almost ready to go in this match.
Reginald, unfortunately, even though it's his birthday, still suffering from that cough. He was coughing a little bit yesterday as well. Talking about those TSM guys, they've had a few bit of health problems throughout the year. Last week, Wild Turtle was sick. Maybe I just know more about TSM's personal life because of game cribs, but it does seem like they get sick a lot.
It does seem like they do that. Of course, living together, they manage to share those germs. But we are back into the game, guys. Let's get this one going on. Here we go. TSM on the red, Dignitas on the blue. Here we go. TSM in a slight lead.
And now it's a matter of where Dignitas decides to go. They just lost a turret, they just lost their bottom lane advantage, and now it's a matter of trying to create the pressure in the right spots. There's a bunch of TSM people up top. Let's see if Dignitas can hold this turret.
Well, right now the turret is going to start taking some damage. Kiwi Kid and Crumbs are there, but they don't seem to be doing a whole lot to keep this alive just yet. They're not putting out a ton of damage onto these champions, just blocking down minions. And we'll go down to half, but it will stay there for now. Dignitas holding on for this short time.
So this top lane is the battle of the brothers right here in the lore, because Crumbs is going after Nasus as he throws that wither down, and maybe Kiwi Kid could go aggressive. Darius does have his ultimate up, though.
There we go. Crumbs going to pop his, and there we go. The damage coming out. The Rupture lands. Crumbs taking a bunch of punishment, and Abba just finishes him off, but Darius will fall, and here comes Skara. The reset comes across, pops the ult. Here comes Reginald. Lands the gold card, puts damage onto Kiwi Kid. Rupture hits. They're going to keep moving forward. Ignite comes across. WW press, and will Reginald get another one? Yes, the 3rd W comes in, and the World Wide Web gives Reginald a kill. Now running back away from Skara. Will get under his turret.
All the globals get used in that one, and it's a 2-for-1 advantage for TSM. Plus, they have the pressure down in the mid lane. Patoy is trying desperately to stop this.
Well, they trade ults right there. Patoy does not quite land the knock-up onto Xpecial, but now they've got control over this turret. Patoy got to be a little bit more worried about how this pans out. Now down to a quarter healthy. Draven ult comes across, and TSM says, you know what? You're right, those are kind of scary.
And look at the map pressure that TSM is trying to put down. Wild Turtle just taunting them with the turret, hitting the S key right out of turret range, making I'm a Cutie Pie come back up. And there's the initiate.
Headbutt Pulverize goes on. He's going to try to flash away, but the Wither is there. Cutie Pie just going to throw axes together. And here comes Scar. He finds one. They're going to move forward onto Xpecial. They're trying to put the axes onto his back. The Rupture comes across. Scar flashes in for a double kill. A little bit of damage on the Autumn, but just walks away. Now, wow, Dignitas finding their own kills. 5-3. Still 1,000 gold behind.
Wild Turtle was messing with the bull. And he got the horns at the end of that one because Skara roamed down, got the double kill after the Pulverize, and now Dignitas might be able to take back some more objectives going for Dragon.
And yeah, they do have the pink ward there, which means not only are they fabulous, but they are unseen by Team Solo Mid. And look at it just falling down. The axes landing in, and that is now the equalizing dragon. 15.9 to 15.9. Tie game, and this is a really important one.
Scar really needs to get the reset in some of these later team fights. 4-0-0 on Katarina. This is the Katarina games you dream of if you're Scar. He needs to be able to keep it going. The big thing with this is, can Dignitas do enough damage to the rest of TSM in team fights to allow Scar to clean up? Because that is such a fantastic start.
Let's see if he can do it. Of course, that Magic Pen build coming out early. The tanky jungler here from the Odd One, starting off on blue buff. Gonna give that one over to Reginald. Let's see if he can put pressure on the maps. So we see TF a fair amount now here in North America, and of course Reginald playing him quite a bit. He's got one kill from a gank so far. Where do you focus if you're Reginald?
You just focus on whoever you want to get the most farmed. And in TSM's case, just based on the gold per minute statistics, that's usually Wild Turtle. I know some of the ganks have been used top by Reginald, but that's because Dignitas is ridiculously aggressive up there. I really expect TSM to just try to either shut down Scar with his ultimates or get Wild Turtle farmed.
Oh wow, this turret down to like no health, but TSM cannot quite follow up. Patoy just too menacing there on Alistair. And Crumbs walks in to try to hold this up as well. Ooh, Crumbs almost managed to the last hit that. Pops the Q for the auto reset, but won't quite land it. PewDiePie grabbing up double golems. Everyone's just trying to find these little advantages that they can along the map.
And I'm a PewDiePie needs to get a little bit more because he's still not at the Bloodthirster, which Wild Turtle has completed now. So he's actually even farther behind than you'd think than just that item, since Wild Turtle has been stacking up that Bloodthirster this entire time.
That is going to be a brutal situation as see if TSM can capitalize off of that. Of course, there's no Dragon Take for them. There are 2 available turrets, though. Where are they going to go?
The available turrets here, I do not know what TSM is going to be trying to fly for here because they're actually passively farming a little bit. I really think they're just waiting for Dignitas to get a little bit out of position, and they're going to try to use their global advantage. This is the window they have where Reginald has his Destiny and Scar does not have his teleport. So they might just look to spread themselves out around the map and try to make a play happen with TF.
We'll see if they can make that happen. Wild Turtle at the bottom lane, pushing down some minions, and, well, you said they're spreading themselves out, and they are. He is alone as an AD carry with barely any ward coverage, but no one from Dignitas has collapsed just yet. Crumbs crushing down minions up in this top lane, keeping that split push from going anywhere. And, of course, Kiwi Kid joins in. Dyrus, though, is sitting right above them in a brush.
Looks like both those junglers are going to be going for the Aegis of the Legion as well, as actually Kiwi Kid's looking a little aggro on Dyrus. That might get turned around on him.
And Dyrus is looking for a bit of pain right here. Popsicle actually really wants to all in this one, but here comes the Death Mark, looking for a lot of pain. Who's going to win this battle? It's Dyrus getting chunked down. The Ignite, of course, is on, but here comes the TF ult, and that might have been an overstep here. Is he going to be out of range? Oh, Kiwi Kid does get out of that one. Didn't even have to flash. However, TSM does find themselves a turret.
It is so hard for Twisted Fate to punish a Zed in these situations. Kiwi Kid saved his Living Shadow until the very end and essentially baited Reginald from there. That relieved all the pressure in the mid lane, and it's allowed Dignitas to mount a counterattack.
And they move on forward into Wild Turtle, knocking him up into the air, but they cannot quite follow up as Oddman has showed up to say, you're not hitting Wild Turtle. So that's not going to happen here. Going to try to last hit under the turret, get a bit of gold back. TSM now have 2,000 gold in the lead. Kiwi Kid, though, not in a good place, trying to get away from Reginald. Reggie locks a blue card. Will it be enough? The Ignite's going to tick. No! Kiwi's still running. Can he get away from this one? Reggie almost in range. The Q comes across. Kiwi dodges it. And oh my gosh, he made it out. And Kiwi Kid turns back around as Scar's looking for a little bit of punishment. The ult comes in from PewDiePie. There we go, Reggie taking a bit of pain. He locks a red card. That's not what he wanted to do. You know, Katarina already has a red card skin, does not need another one. Still chasing down to Reginald, gets the haste. There's the gold card. Can Reggie get away? Scar with the Q, he finds it anyway.
Scar overchased, or Reginald overchased there. He had 12 less movement speed than Zed when he was trying to run away, and now it's on Scar to try to out-juke Dyrus.
And there we go, Dyrus puts some damage on, and Scar runs the heck away from that one. He's going to survive. Now the mid lane again under pressure. Wild Turtle and Odd One trying to defend it.
This seems to be Dignitas' pattern here. Kiwi Kid makes stuff happen in the top lane, and then Dignitas is trying to push back this mid one because they really have to get some turret pressure created. They are up in kills, but substantially down in gold because that's 2,250 gold they are down globally from the 3 turrets being gone.
Well, that is pretty brutal. And now look at this. Crumbs just wave clearing the mid lane, looking for some pressure. Right? You mentioned those turrets. They haven't found any yet, but they're still trying for that mid lane. Wild Turtle spreads himself back out to the bottom. Odd One, the man left alone to defend the mid lane. and I don't think he likes his odds too much here.
Because TSM is really spread out. Wild Turtle went to farm bottom, while Renekton went to go top, and there's Scar.
And they just jump in onto the Odd One, but he gets knocked in the air by the Rupture. This is not good for Scar, forced to flash away, but look at the axes there onto the Odd One. However, Cutie Pie cannot stay around. Reginald locks a gold card. Look at the burst there. Cutie Pie, one hit from dead, but Toy saves him. That bodyguard bouncing Reginald away.
Offensive lineman Alistair right there. That was actually a very good hold by TSM, because that was a 2v4 in the turret, and they didn't lose it, and they didn't lose any people. Meanwhile, Wild Turtle and Dyrus were free farming the side lanes, and because so many people on Dignitas got low there, it allows TSM to pressure all 3 lanes at once.
And they are putting on the pressure right here. You can see Reginald kind of in a sort of a 1 versus 3 and happily putting the damage out there. Cutie Pie last hitting for himself has finally got his own Bloodthirster. He's starting to catch up, and there we go. Dyrus in the top lane. As you said, they're splitting up. They're putting pressure everywhere.
Looks like there's Runic Bulwarks going to be coming out from potentially both of these junglers. See, Aegis on Odd One is completed. Crumbs has a null magic as well, so he's part of his way to the upgrade for the Runic Bulwark. And even though, I make this point a lot, even though Renekton is a physical damage champion, his ultimate does so much magic damage, it's actually close to a double AP comp when you run Renekton in team fights, because he can sit around for so far, which would make the Runic Bulwark a smart purchase on Crumbs before he even starts making that lock into the Iron Solari.
And here we see the blue buff being taken away in place of a ward, but no one from Dignitas will be able to steal that one away. Dragon is coming up right now, though. This is going to be a very, very important fight. Jat, who takes it?
Well, I'm a Cutie Pie. Did just pick up that red buff. Wild Turtle does not have it. I think it really matters on the positioning of the fight, whether Wild Turtle gets a good bullet time off or not, or if the fight starts in bad circumstances. What really needs to happen for Dignitas is Crumbs has to be able to sit in the middle of the team for a while so that Skara gets people low enough so he can get the resets with Katarina and hop around.
Okay, so the wards have been swept out. TSM are starting this one out right here. They do want Dick to go into them. The Shadow comes across, a little bit of poke there onto Odd One. Dragon down to half, and TSM have disengaged. Standing off of Soda, the poke coming out from Twisted Fate.
These teams know how much rides on this fight. This is a very close game, and the winner will get so much gold plus the Dragon here. So if Odd One lands a Rupture, envision they might go. If there's a good crescendo opportunity, we could see a flash ult. But mainly, neither team wants to over-engage themselves because they know how easily they could get cleaned up.
Well, we'll see who's going to clean this fight up indeed. Actually, wow, the ward that came down from Dignitas. Look at that one right there on the bottom of your screen. Not in view of that ward. Yep, the cliff just blocking line of sight. So you sneak those wards in there, you can sneak past the cards. But there we go, Cutie Pie has shoved mid lane. That's good for him.
And we got some split push going on here once again. Odd One is, Reginald's trying to get this bottom lane. Dignitas is getting the inner turret here. TSM did pick up the Dragon, but now they have to rush to defend.
Let's see if they can do it. Of course, the recalls are coming in for most of that TSM lineup, but Dig have found 2 middle turrets, and they're still moving on forward. Reginald still at the bottom trying to take that one down, but Dig are finding another turret to break down. This is so good for them. Reggie will finally kill that turret off, but they're going to find a 3rd turret right here for 1+ Dragon, and the inhibitor is now open at 19 minutes in, and Dignitas just backs on out.
Absolutely worth it for Dignitas. They almost even the turret score, but I'd say they'd actually be ahead in them because that inhibitor defending turret holds so much more map pressure value than any other turret you could get. They're saying, sure, you can have the Dragon. Have fun split pushing Reginald. TSM didn't want to engage in a bad, poorly sloppy team fight either, coming in the back, so they had to just give it all up.
Well, the TF ult comes across, sees that no one from Dig have really split themselves too much. Reggie actually shows back up at the bottom lane instead, and will keep farming out as TSM shoves down mid.
And TSM will have to take a team fight eventually, but there's no TF ult, so Dignitas is going.
They're going to go right in onto the Odd One. A nice Rupture is going to buy some time, but Patoy, of course, has looked for Wild Turtle, and they're still chasing on down. Look at the damage on the Odd One. Can they get him with the Death Mark? He will fall down. Skara is dominating. Crescendo comes across. Special getting shut down right now. Wild Turtle finds the ult, but he is alone, and he falls down as well. And Skara is now going to look for more blood. They found 2.
Reginald is on the inhibitor turret while all this is happening, so they're trying to at least trade inhibitor for inhibitor as Crumbs chases down X-Special. Dignitas going strong mid.
He's going to find that kill. X-Special does fall over. Now only Dyrus is alive to defend the base as Reggie will look for that turret kill himself. Cutie Pie, of course, easily going to get the pressure down onto the inhibitor. Now the question is, where do they go next?
So Skara had to back, or Skara did back, and that's what forced Reginald from going back. So Dignitas wins that one. I really have to give them a hand for exploiting the window when Reginald used his alt bottom and TSM was in position to be initiated on. Patoy is fearless on Alistair. He still hasn't died despite how aggressively he's been initiating for his team. So very good execution by Dignitas there, and they're showing why they're winning the team fights.
Absolutely beautiful play by the Dignitas squad as Skara has been sent down to the bottom lane to sweep out this minion wave. And so now that they have managed to outmaneuver TSM and get the inhibitor down, how do they use this 5-minute advantage?
they're just going to try to keep the pressure up on the side lane since they have the middle inhibitor down. They have a disproportionate amount of middle turrets, considering those are the only turrets they have down on the entire map. With the inhibitor down, side lanes all have 100 extra health per minion, so TSM is going to have to spread out and try to finish this things off. That gives so many different pressure opportunities for Dignitas. Scar's teleport on Katarina is an example of one. They're really just going to try to clean up these essentially free turrets, get the extra global gold, and probably pull themselves ahead globally in the gold race from TSM as well.
Well, we can see that TSM are spreading themselves out. You're looking at a lot of guys in mid. It's going to be Dyrus up on the top, and Reginald has sent himself to the bottom lane with that global teleport just so we can participate with Baron Nashor if that does happen in this game. Reggie's still pushing out. Of course, Dyrus was sitting on top of a ward. He's forced to run away. Stand aside does land. There's the death mark that go in onto Dyrus, but he has a GA and he runs off away.
And this is actually one of the situations where Teleport is better than Twisted Fate Ultimate, because TF Ult can only travel about half the map. Teleport gets to take him anywhere as long as there's a ward or a minion to teleport to, so Dignitas got that one for free since TSM did not want to engage in that 4v4.
Well, and then we can see that Dignitas are still looking to push on forward. Even though they're actually down in gold, they are the ones playing the aggressors right now. I'm a cutie pie, shoving on up. Rupture comes down, does not land on basically anyone. They put damage on Crumbs, though. Dyrus goes in for this one. Special following up, and they don't go for the fight.
And this is a matter of TSM trying to scare Scar into a teleport so that Reginald can split push that bottom lane. But instead, Reginald uses his Twisted Fate ultimate to deal with the super minions in the middle, and this will be that free turret we talked about earlier. Scar should be able to take this bottom.
He's got no one at all near him. Patoy actually sweeping out wards at the Baron, though. So Dignitas really, as you say, have so much control over the map. This free turret going down rather quickly. 2 minutes until Dragon. That could be on the map as well, on the plate for these guys to munch down on. And Crumbs, again, split pushing towards the top. Does TSM just have to wait out the 5 minutes, or can they make something happen?
I think they have to wait until their inhibitor goes down. They're essentially just trying to stop the bleeding right now, hold back the horde of minions, and Dyrus is very worried about Scar in teamfights. You can see it by the fact that he's got that Guardian Angel. He doesn't want to let Scar get any resets. You do not see Renekton's build Guardian Angel. The only reason he would build that item is because he wants to be the first one in, but doesn't want to risk giving Scar resets.
That is going to be an interesting item combination. Reginald getting a whole bunch of pain. Scar does find something there, and of course Patoy's there as well. Flashes across the wall into a cutie kid and a cutie pie, and he's going to go down right away.
And because TSM has been sustained in their base for so long, they had no wards for that approach. They had no idea where Dignitas was, and it lulled Reginald into a false sense of security. For the last 2 minutes, he'd been staring at just Scar in that bottom lane. He did not expect those people once he flashed the wall.
Not at all. Now they're pushing down into the top lane, in the bottom lane, I should say. In the top, they were fighting a little bit. Here comes the initiation, and they look for a special right now. A lot of pain available there. The exhaust keeps him alive. Shut down onto Scar, though. That's a nice pickup, and now can they turn this one back around? Oddone looking for something to land. He gets the Rupture onto so many people. Kiwi Kid dropping in health. He's going to fall down. Double kill here for Wild Turtle, and now the chase is on to Patoy. Are they hasted enough? Yes, triple kill here for Wild Turtle. He is going wild in this game and finding kill after kill.
Wild Turtle on Cowgirl Misfortune just takes him down. You could not believe how happy he was when Scar didn't get his Zhonya's Hourglass off in that fight. He'd bought it, but he was so chain CC'd by the crescendo that he couldn't make it happen, and Reginald continues on to Cutie Pie.
He's looking for it, but the stand aside, making him stand back and not find anything there. Cutie Pie getting away safely. Oddone standing on Baron. They're actually starting it.
Well, they know they have 3 people on Dignitas down. The pink ward confirms that there is no direct vision by Dignitas, but that ward is something that TSM didn't know about. They see Scars here now, and they might be in some trouble. This is a tough Baron for them to be trapped in between.
Next special gets knocked up into the air. They are forced to run away. They do burn that teleport cooldown, but TSM do not get a chance to go for this one. Here we go. They sweep out a couple of wards, but they don't get much else.
And this is a matter of Dignitas just running them around. Yes, they lost the team fight, but they want to keep their pressure up. This is a game where TSM is actually up in gold, but there's no way they know it, as those minions are just hammering on their base. This is a point of TSM having to respond to their base, but Dignitas forcing them hard at Baron.
Well, let's see what ends up happening with this one. Baron is losing health right now. You can see those super minions in the screen pushing down on the Nexus, but it'll hold on for now. The Baron and Nashor losing more and more health. Wild Turtle across the wall does not have bullet time yet, nor do they have Crescendo. Those are going to be important cooldowns for them as the Baron loses more and more health. TSM making their way around the corner. There comes Dyrus. He goes in for this one. Inhibitor has respawned, and here they go in for the fight. Dyrus on a half health. Red team is slain. Baron Nashor. Oddone actually gets it in the fight. Dyrus forced to run away. It's a shutdown. They've actually killed Wild Turtle. Here we go. Dyrus coming back on up, but he's in the middle of the enemy team. Flashes away. Cutie-Pie's not going to chase that one down. Odd One really being slowed down, and he's going to try to run. They've traded 1 for 1 so far. Can Dignitas do anything else to get this Baroned up TSM?
They want to get as many people dead as possible because the Odd One actually got over the Baron wall in that fight, soloed the last 2,000 health of Baron with his smite and his ultimate, and I don't think Dignitas expected that to be a potential steal. They'd actually peeled off of Baron. TSM had other plans, and that was really big for them because Reggie used his Twisted Fate ultimate to get back into the base, and they are probably going to be able to hold off these inhibitors.
That was absolutely huge for them, and Cutie-Pie now wailing down to this top turret with a giant minion wave. Can Dyrus do much to stop this one out? The GA, of course, did proc in the last fight, trying to shove out minions, but still looking a little risky for him. Slice and Dice comes through. Looks like he will keep the turret for now, but it's getting lower.
And that Guardian Angel by Dyrus actually did slow down Dignitas substantially in that last fight. They killed Wild Turtle very early on, but then they waited on Dyrus, and they just all had to kind of mob around him. Scar didn't have a reset, he couldn't jump to anyone else, and Dyrus actually jumped out of that afterwards. So all of that action did give TSM a bit of an edge because they were able to pick up the huge Baron buff.
Absolutely beautiful play, and that's put them up to a 3,000 gold lead now. So TSM, I mean, just never losing hope. That's the one thing we've seen from these top 4 teams is they find ways to get back in the game. And now Crumbs is alone, and he is just gone completely. Had tried to solo the dragon, that did not work for him. TSM will get this one for free.
Crumbs is really good at soloing Dragon on Nasus if he has his Nasus ultimate up, but because he didn't, he was wailing on that thing for a good 20 or 30 seconds, and it was just a matter of time until TSM said, hey, I wonder if this is up. We have Baron buff. There's no way Dignitas would want to fight us a Dragon. Look, a free kill, and they were able to pick that up, and now they gain some pressure off of it.
So here we go, TSM, now the ones in control of the map finally. Now you had called it right. Dig did actually get more global objectives off that inhibitor going down at 6 to 5 in turrets, but TSM have found other ways to scale up ahead. With a 5,000 gold lead, Baron, many dragons, they're looking great, and the lanes are now shoving toward Dignitas' base.
And because of the Baron that TSM was able to pick up, the bottom inhibitor defending turret that Reginald was able to kill when they lost their own inhibitor is looking better and better because TSM's inhibitor's back, and now there's an exposed backdoor opportunity for Reginald when his team has Baron buff and actually has the advantage in team play.
That could be a really scary thing for them. Wild Turtle just going to shove out the mid lane as Scar tried to get some farm. We'll see where TSM ends up moving. So they've got about a minute and a half left of this Baron buff. Where do they end up going, Jet?
You're saying they have Baron, but what are they going to do with it?
Yes.
I can see that's what you're going for in that situation. I think they're probably going to start pushing mid with the threat of Reginald to go bottom and get that inhibitor, because if Dignitas engages them in a fight, as long as Scar doesn't get too many resets, the threat is always there for Reginald to go and finish off that skip.
So we'll see if they can make this move actually happen. Cutie-Pie, it was mentioned there in the interview that a late game Draven not so scary. We'll see if that ends up being something to bite them in the end here for Dignitas. As TSM, in fact, do run down towards his mid lane. Baron buff, still about 45 seconds left. Wild cards come out. Cloud One in the front as the major tank. And here comes TSM.
And to get back to that Draven versus Misfortune matchup, Cutie-Pie hasn't even gotten adequately fed on that either. He's actually 2,000 gold behind Wild Turtle's Misfortune, so even if it's different champions, he still wouldn't win the duel, as Reginald's going right in for that inhibitor.
Wild jumps right onto it. Indeed, the team coming to follow up. Wildcards come by. He looks at Patoy, looks at Crumbs, and says, okay, I'll back off for now, but the rest of TSM are now here. They're in actually behind the minion wave. They're basically proxying an inhibitor. And
if TSM is feeling aggressive, which they usually are, they could go for a big fight here, and if they want it, they're far enough into Dignitas' base that they could win the game off a great initiation. There is a Flash Crescendo available, and Dignitas has to be very careful how they defend this inhibitor.
Not with the gold card locked right now. They might not want to go for that one. Rupture does land onto Crumbs. Where will Dignitas go? Kiwi Kid lands a slow onto Reggie. Throws out a Q, does hit some damage there as well. Reggie does not have a Zonia, so they could go for the pressure onto him. We talked about that earlier from Kiwi Kid. See if that ends up being the case here. Dignitas have shoved TSM now out of their base. They're up to the front door with the Oracles that kill off a ward.
They also know that Draven ulti was just used to clear wave in the other lane, so the teamfight potential of Dignitas is even a little bit lower. All it would take is a Rupture onto Scar so they can chain CC and stop him from Zonyazing, since 7 of Dignitas' 11 kills are on that one champion. Fortunately for Dignitas though, TSM's Baron buff has expired, and they are no longer feeling as confident in their position.
Okay, so instead they are just playing the slow grind right here. 4,500 gold up. The minions have finally come to meet them now in front of Dignitas' base. Scar is actually being sent down the mid lane to get some free farm. Dignitas just hides inside the safety of their own shelter.
Well, I guess one way you could avoid Scar from getting caught out is just take him away from the fight and realize he has teleport to come in. Because that's essentially what he wants to do on Katarina anyway. He wants to engage late in fights when people have burned all their cooldowns and then clean up. So if Scar split pushes for actually the rest of this game and keeps himself safe, that might be one of Dignitas' ways of coming back.
We'll see if they can do that with Scar, of course. As you mentioned, he is kind of the farm leader of the team, has most of their kills. PewDiePie is, though, trying to catch up. 186 minions on him. Doing pretty well for himself overall. And now TSM looking to fight. Heads up, the ult comes across. They're going to look for something. Gold card onto Krubs. They're going to move in. He pops the ult. Reginald taking a bunch of pain. And here we go. The battle is on. Half health on Krubs. Damage down onto Reginald as well. There's a beautiful pulverize up from Patoy, but they're moving on to the Alistair, taking a bunch of damage. PewDiePie now hit up by Draven, by Dyrus. They're still running away.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful crescendo into bullet time. Finds 4 kills, finds 5 kills. Everyone in Dignitas is gone. TSM yelling in the background. This is surely a secured first place finish for TSM in the spring split.
The timing of that bullet time with the flash crescendo from X Special was so perfect that they just mopped the floor with Dignitas. They were winning the fight up to that, and then they crushed the fight. And this looks like the final push for TSM of this regular season of the spring playoffs. That's going to be a #1 seed.
#1 seed indeed for TSM. The turrets are going down. Only Patoy respawning in the next 3 seconds, and I don't think he can really 1v5 no matter how angry he might be. And there we go. In turret, the turrets have fallen. The Nexus is going to as well. And there you have it. TSM #1.
TSM finishes the regular season on a 7-0 streak. They are so pumped for this. Happy birthday, Reginald. They're going to be excited tonight.
They are indeed. Congratulations there. And the funny thing is, barely up 13-11 in kills. That game was map control for them more than anything else. Only that team fight put them above as far as kill score was concerned, but an absolutely stellar team performance from these guys.